As you can see, my boat right here is bottom painted. That means that there's this dark area below the white gel coat. Sometimes this area is light blue, sometimes it's black. It can be other colors. Sometimes it's even a coppery color, I think. When you see a big boat like this one, where the hull is white, and then there's this darker area down low, and it's very dull, that means the boat has been bottom painted. And in this video, we're going to talk about bottom paint basics. Do you need to bottom paint your boat? And what does it mean when a boat is bottom painted? Matter of fact, what made me think about bottom paint today was the fact that my West Marine sale catalog came in, and they have various bottom paints on sale right now because a lot of people do this right before they put their boat in the water. This is my Four Winds Horizon 23.5-foot bow rider, and when I bought it, it was freshly bottom painted. And now it's a few years old, and this bottom paint actually might be due to be replaced. But why is my boat bottom painted? The purpose of bottom paint is to protect the gel coat of your boat. And the idea is the way it works is that as there gets to be growth that wants to form onto the hull of your boat, it sticks to that paint. And what will happen is as you're running your boat in the water, or when you go to take the boat out of the water and you're washing it off, that makes the growth come off a lot easier because it's only sticking to this paint surface, which is not meant to be permanent. It's meant to give away and to wear away, so that way the growth sticks to that paint and then that paint comes off. The only reason you want to bottom paint your boat is if you're keeping it in the water. So if your boat is sitting in a slip in the marina, you want to bottom paint it because the bottom paint protects the hull because the bottom paint protects growth from getting on your hull. So when I pull my boat out in the fall, I usually find a few barnacles or whatever on here and some other algae and other growth that sticks to this bottom paint, and it makes it easier to get those things off, and that way they're not eating into the gel coat of your boat. If you keep your boat on a trailer, on a boat lift, or in a rack in a marina, you probably do not need to bottom paint your boat unless you bought a used boat and it already was bottom painted. Because if it was already bottom painted, this bottom paint will wear away eventually. And when it wears away, you need to replace it with new bottom paint because underneath of here is gel coat that has been sanded. So the gel coat of your boat is kind of compromised in a way underneath of here. So ideally, if you buy a boat that's used and it's already been bottom painted, you should keep it bottom painted. Obviously, if you keep the boat out of the water, it doesn't have to be done as much. However, there's a lot of different kinds of bottom paint and a lot of different characteristics. The two main types are ablative and hard. And the difference is the ablative wears off and rubs off like with your hand. My hand would be black if this was ablative bottom paint. This is hard bottom paint. And I believe the ablative bottom paint, when you put it on, you have to put the boat in the water within 3 days, and you have to keep it in there because it will rub off much more quickly than the hard will. So the only people who need to put bottom paint on their boat are people who leave their boat in the water, or if you bought a used boat that has already been bottom painted. You can see with mine right here, this is actually just some dirt that's on here. There are some areas where this is starting to wear out. I probably should put another coat of bottom paint on this year. But how do you go about doing it? Just so you know, in this video, I'm not going to be bottom painting my boat, and I'm not going to get into all the minute details of how you should do this. If you plan to undertake bottom painting your boat for the first time or re-bottom painting it, I suggest you watch a lot of videos, talk to the people who sell the paints, and make sure you follow the proper techniques for your area, your type of boat, your hull material, and whether or not you're going to paint anything like the outdrive or any metal parts, because they require different kinds of paint. But the basics of it are to keep the bottom paint below the water line. As you can see here, mine has a stain, which is the water line. And so the paint is put right above the water line. And the way they got this line on here is they taped it off after they had established where the water line was for this boat. They taped it off, and initially they probably sanded this down with maybe 60 or 80 grit, the whole bottom of the boat. Then they put something on there to prepare the surface, and then they put the bottom paint on. And then every few years, do the same thing again. So you tape a nice, good line all the way around your boat, right at this edge, and then you sand with 80 grit the whole bottom of the boat, where the bottom paint is, and you hand sand. Probably can do it with a mechanical sander. And obviously it's a messy job, so you want to be wearing the proper protection, whether that's respirator or dust masks, and etc., etc. And then you hand sand up near the line, and then you just roll on the new paint. And that's how you do it. And some people recommend you do that every year or every couple of years. Now, one of the interesting things with bottom painting is there's areas, if your boat is on a trailer, where the bunks are resting. And so those are areas that you can't get to very easily. So in order to be able to paint those areas, what some people do is they're able to shift their boat farther forward and back on the trailer to paint those specific areas where the rollers or the bunks were sitting. And other times people have jacked them up off the trailer. I actually have a video where I used trailer mounted jacks to be able to lift my old boat up off of the trailer. And those worked quite well. And what's nice about those is that you can sand the area where the jack is going to go, then install the jacks, jack up the trailer, jack up the boat from the trailer on those 4 points, sand everything else, put it back down again, start painting, do the same thing with painting. Bottom painting your boat is a labor-intensive job, and it takes some time. And obviously there's a lot of times where you're working in odd spaces. You're working underneath, you're working upside down, you're leaning up like this. And it would be a lot easier to do it if you could have the boat up a lot higher. That's why some people pay somebody else to bottom paint their boat for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. The interesting thing about buying used boats is if your boat is bottom painted, then you can be pretty certain it was kept in a marina. And if you plan on keeping it in a marina again, that's just one less thing you have to do before you put it in there. Because you would not want to leave your boat sitting in a marina if it has not been bottom painted. Because you put it in there just for a couple weeks' time, and sometimes there can be growth in that hull that can be really difficult to deal with, and it can have made your gel coat look a lot less beautiful than it originally looked. On my particular boat, the outdrive was also painted with bottom paint, and I'm not sure whether or not they actually used the appropriate metal bottom paint for the outdrive, because I get a massive amount of barnacle growth on my outdrive, and that might be because they're not using the right paint on the outdrive. They're using the same paint that they used on the hull, because there are different types of bottom paint for metals. So once again, be sure to check with your supplier and a lot of other resources before you go tackling trying to replace bottom paint or bottom paint your boat for the first time, because it can be a lot of work and a lot of money, and if you don't do it right, that's time and money that you've wasted, and you don't want to do that. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this video and it was informative for you. Here's another one that YouTube has picked just for you. I hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching.